The red sky above Seoul glowed with alien fire. Dr. Kim Hannah pressed her face against the thick glass window of the military transport. Below her, the city where she had lived for 37 years was breaking apart. Giant alien ships floated in the sky like angry gods. Their weapons shot bright beams of light that cut through buildings like knives through paper. "Dr. Kim, we must go now," said Major Park Junho. His green military uniform was torn and dirty with blood. "The transport plane leaves in 10 minutes. Hannah could not look away from the destruction below. Her brother's apartment building was gone, just empty space where it used to be. The university, where she had worked for 10 years, was now a smoking hole in the ground. Everything she knew and loved was being destroyed by creatures who saw humans as nothing more than bugs to be killed. 3 days ago, the aliens had first spoken to Earth. They did not want to talk or make deals. They sent one simple message in every human language at the same time: "Give up or die. You have 72 hours. The governments of Earth tried everything they could think of. They sent messages asking for peace, but the aliens ignored them. They sent armies and fighter jets to attack the alien ships, but the weapons barely scratched the metal holes. Some countries even said they would surrender completely. But the aliens did not care. Instead, the aliens showed their power by destroying entire cities. Geneva, Tokyo, New York, all turned into glass and ash in bright flashes of light that people could see from space. The aliens wanted everyone on Earth to know that resistance was useless. Now Hannah was getting on the transport that would take her to a secret research base in Antarctica. In her hand, she held a small computer drive that contained all her life's work. Project Prometheus was supposed to be humanity's last chance, a powerful weapon based on her studies of strange matter and energy. She had never thought her mathematical equations would become plans for humanity's final battle. The transport plane shook as alien fighter ships flew past them. Their engines made strange sounds and left glowing trails in the air. Through the radio, Hannah heard broken voices from around the world. Moscow was being attacked. London had stopped talking completely. The Australian army was fighting their last battle in the desert. 67 hours remaining, said a cold computer voice. That the aliens broadcast on every radio and television channel. It was counting down to the end of the human race. As the transport plane flew toward the research station at the South Pole, Hannah thought about her brother, who was now dead. She thought about her burning world and the billions of people who would never see another morning. If humans were going to die, she decided, they would not die quietly. The plane flew through gray clouds and freezing wind. Ice covered the windows, making it hard to see outside. Hannah closed her eyes and remembered her brother's last phone call 3 days ago. He had been laughing about something funny that happened at his work. Now his voice was just a memory, and his body was probably buried under tons of broken concrete and metal. Major Park sat down next to her. His face was tired and sad. "My family was in Busan," he said quietly. "The aliens hit it this morning." Hannah nodded but did not say anything. What could she say? Everyone on the plane had lost someone. Everyone on Earth had lost someone. Through the radio, they heard more bad news. The alien ships were landing ground troops in major cities around the world. These soldiers were not trying to capture anything or take prisoners. They were just killing every human they found, building by building, street by street. "Why?" asked Dr. Lee Minho, another scientist on the plane. "Why don't they want slaves or workers? Why just kill everyone?" Major Park looked out the window, at the white ice below. "Because to them, we are not people. We are just in the way." The transport plane began to descend toward the Antarctic research station. Through the ice and snow, Hannah could see the hidden entrance to the underground facility. Inside that base, the last hope of humanity was waiting. Her equations turned into reality. Her theories built into weapons that might be able to hurt the aliens. But as they landed on the frozen runway, Hannah wondered if hope was enough. The aliens had destroyed thousands of other worlds before coming to Earth. They had weapons that could crack planets and ships that moved faster than light. What could humans do against such power? She touched the computer drive in her pocket. Inside were the mathematical formulas that described how to tear holes in space itself, how to reach into other dimensions and pull out pure energy. It was dangerous science, the kind that could destroy entire solar systems if something went wrong. Maybe that was exactly what they needed. The plane stopped, and cold Antarctic air rushed in as the doors opened. Hannah stepped out onto the ice, carrying humanity's last hope in her pocket. Above them, the alien countdown continued, marking the hours until extinction. 66 hours and 37 minutes remaining. 6 months had passed since the world died. Dr. Lee Min-ho looked at his old teacher, Dr. Kim Hannah, and barely knew her anymore. She stood in front of the glowing computer screen that showed their test results. Her white lab coat was dirty and torn. Her eyes looked empty, like someone who had seen too much death. "The energy machine is working," she said. Her voice sounded rough and tired. "We are taking huge amounts of power from empty space, but we cannot control it properly." All around them, the underground base was full of busy people. Scientists from many different countries worked together in the hidden rooms below the ice. It did not matter anymore which country they came from, because all their countries were now piles of ash and broken glass. The base was built for 50 people for 1 year. Now, almost 300 people lived there, the last smart people left on Earth. "Dr. Kim," shouted Dr. Choi Yoonji from the other side of the room. Her voice sounded scared. "Something strange is happening in Section 7. The readings are crazy." Min-ho looked at his computer screen and felt his heart stop. "These numbers, ... We are not just taking energy from empty space. We are making tiny holes in reality itself." Above them, far over the ice, the war was still going on. But it was not really a war anymore. The humans who had tried to fight back were being killed one by one. The alien soldiers moved slowly and carefully, like people cleaning bugs out of a house. The radio messages from other survivors had gotten quieter and quieter, until finally there was only silence. Hannah stared at the numbers on the screen for a long time. Min-ho saw something change in her face, a look that scared him more than any alien weapon. "What if we are thinking about this wrong?" she said quietly. "We have been trying to make energy, trying to make normal weapons. But what if we are not just taking power from another place? What if we are making a door for something that lives there?" "That is crazy," said Dr. Yang Subin from her desk. "We do not know what is on the other side. We might be letting in something worse than the aliens." Hannah turned to look at all the scientists in the room. Min-ho could see in her eyes how heavy the end of the world felt, worse than dying. What could be worse than every human being killed? The emergency alarms started screaming. The base's defense systems turned on. On the screens that showed the surface, they could see alien ships coming down through the snowstorm. Bright lights cut through the dark polar night, searching for them. "They found us," someone whispered in the dark. Hannah walked to the main control panel. Her hands moved toward the buttons that controlled their experiment. "Then we have nothing left to lose." The base shook as alien weapons hit the ice above them. Chunks of frozen dirt fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered on and off. Through the thick walls, they could hear the sound of alien machines digging down toward them. "Dr. Kim, wait," Min-ho said, grabbing her arm. "If you are right, if there is something on the other side of those holes we are making, we do not know if it will help us or kill us." Hannah looked at him with tired eyes. "Look around, Min-ho. We are the last people left. In a few hours, we will all be dead. The aliens will kill us, and then there will be no more humans anywhere in the universe." More explosions shook the base. The alien digging sounds were getting closer. On the security cameras, They could see strange four-legged creatures with too many arms breaking through the upper levels of the base. These were not the tall, thin aliens they had seen before. These were the workers, the ones who came to clean up after the destroyers. 30 seconds, until they break through the main doors, reported Major Park Junho from his security station. Dr. Choi Yoonji was crying as she worked at her computer. The dimensional readings are going crazy. Whatever we have been waking up, on the other side, it knows we are here. Hannah's finger moved closer to the release button. Maybe it will kill us. Maybe it will kill the aliens. Maybe it will kill everything. But at least we will not die as victims. We will die as fighters. The main doors exploded inward. Alien creatures poured into the hallway, their weapons already firing. The few human guards shot back, but their bullets bounced off the alien armor like raindrops. Now or never, Hannah whispered. She pressed the button. All the lights in the base went out at once. Then something impossible happened. The air itself seemed to tear apart, like old cloth. Through the holes, they could see something moving in the darkness, something huge and hungry and very much alive. The alien creatures stopped shooting, for the first time since they had come to Earth. The invaders looked afraid, in the black space between dimensions. Something ancient turned its attention toward the small blue planet and the interesting little creatures who had just opened a door they could never close again. Dr. Park Ji-ho woke up in complete silence. For months, he had lived with the constant noise of machines keeping them alive and the distant sound of alien bombs. Now there was nothing. The quiet was more scary than any explosion. He found Dr. Kim Hannah in the main lab, standing in front of what used to be their test chamber. Before, there had been a special magnetic container that held their energy experiments. Now, there was something else. It was not exactly nothing, but his brain could not understand what he was looking at. It was a ball of perfect darkness that seemed to bend light and space around it. How long was I sleeping? He asked in a whisper. 18 hours, Hannah said, without looking away from the thing. It talked to me, Ji-ho, when I let it out of the container. When the aliens broke into our base, it reached out and ate them all. Every single alien soldier, their ships, their weapons, gone in just a few seconds. Ji-ho walked closer and felt the hair on his arms stand up. The dark sphere beat like a heart, and somehow he could feel a huge mind inside it. It was old, hungry, and very curious. What about the other people? He asked. They are safe. All of them. It knows us. I think it understands that we made it. Hannah finally looked at him, and he was shocked by the mix of wonder and fear on her face. It has been trying to talk to me, not with words, but with thoughts, pictures. It shows me what it ate. The alien machines, their memories, everything they knew about space. As if it heard them talking, the thing glowed brighter. Suddenly, Ji-ho's head was filled with pictures that were not his own. He saw huge alien cities that covered entire continents. He saw fleets of ships that could break planets in half, and behind it all was the hegemony, an empire that had destroyed 10,000 different species across the galaxy. But there was something else in the visions that made his blood turn cold. He saw Earth from space, but it was not the blue planet he remembered. The surface was changing, turning into strange geometric shapes that hurt to look at. The oceans looked oily and reflective. Weird towers and spires were growing from the bottom of the sea, buildings that seemed to exist in more dimensions than human eyes could see. "What have we done?" he whispered. The dark thing pulsed again, and this time the message was clearer. Hunger, growth, purpose. It had eaten the alien technology and found it was not enough. It needed more. It would always need more. Above them, through the few working cameras on the surface, they could see new alien ships entering their solar system. These were much bigger than before, massive warships with support vessels. Together, they had enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Hannah put her hand on the window, and for a moment, Jiho thought he saw something move inside the dark entity. Maybe it was affection, or recognition, or just the simple bond between creator and child. "It will protect us," she said. "All of us, but the cost, ... She stopped talking and watched as thin streams of impossible darkness began flowing through the walls of their base. They were not destroying anything, but changing everything they touched. The cost is everything else. The entity continued to grow. Through their minds, it showed them more visions. They saw what Earth was becoming, not a planet anymore, but something new and alien. The thing was rebuilding their world from the inside out, turning it into something that could exist in many dimensions at once. "It loves us," Hannah said quietly. "In its own way, it loves us because we created it. We are special to it. But everything else, ... She pointed toward the stars visible through the base's windows. "Everything else is just food." Jiho watched as the dark streams spread through their facility, touching equipment and walls. Where the darkness passed, things changed. Metal became something that was part metal, part energy, part something else entirely. The air itself became richer, more alive. "The other people in the base," he said, "are they changing too?" "No," Hannah replied. "It protects us. We are the only things in the universe it will never consume. We are its creators, its parents, its gods. It will keep us safe forever." Through the entity's shared consciousness, they felt its attention turn toward the approaching alien fleet. There was no anger in its thoughts, no hatred, just simple, endless hunger and the desire to grow. The dark sphere pulsed one more time, and suddenly the entire facility shook. But it was not from alien weapons. It was from something much larger, stirring beneath them. The entity was preparing to feed again, and this time it would not stop with just the invasion force out above them. The alien fleet began to slow as their sensors detected something wrong with the small blue planet. They had come to finish destroying, but by then, it was already too late. The thing that humanity had created to save them was about to teach the galaxy what real hunger looked like. Captain Lim Tae-young floated near the big window of New Seoul Station, one of the space homes quickly, built to house the last million people left alive. Through the thick glass, he watched what used to be Earth finish changing into something impossible. It was not a planet anymore. The dark thing had eaten the world and built it into something new, a huge crystal structure that glowed with its own light. Strange patterns covered its surface that hurt to look at. From its center, long arms of living darkness reached out to touch the other planets in their solar system. "What about the alien fleet?" he asked Dr. Kwon Minji, who stood next to him, watching the creature grow bigger. "All gone," she said. Her voice sounded empty and tired. "The hegemony sent 3 large groups of warships. The creature ate them all in less than 4 hours. It is not just eating their ships anymore, Captain. It is learning from them, taking their technology, their fighting methods, their knowledge, through the mind connection the creature had made with all living humans." Tae-young could feel its huge consciousness touching the edge of his thoughts. It was curious about them and wanted to protect them in its own strange way. But its hunger was becoming harder and harder for human minds to understand. The creature had grown beyond their solar system now. Its influence reached through, folded, space, touching distant stars, tasting the strange matter of dead stars, and reaching toward the center of the galaxy with arms of pure hunger. Wherever it touched, space itself changed, becoming something richer, more complex, more alive. "Dr. Kim wants to see you," Minji said quietly. In the talking chamber, Tae-young found Dr. Kim Hannah in the special room where humans could safely talk with their creation. She looked much older than her 50 years. Her hair had turned white from the stress of being humanity's main speaker to the creature. The chamber was amazing, part human technology, part alien science, stolen from eaten enemy fleets, part something completely new that the creature had created from its own imagination. Living tubes pulsed with light along the walls. In the center, a pool of liquid that was not quite matter and not quite energy served as a way to communicate. "It is planning something," Hannah said without introduction. "Something big. I can feel its attention turning toward the center of the galaxy, toward the hegemony's home systems." "That is good, right?" Tae-young asked, though something in her voice made him worried. "They're the ones who tried to kill us all." Hannah touched the communication pool, and immediately the chamber filled with visions from the creature's vast mind. He saw civilizations covering hundreds of worlds, each one unique, each one filled with billions of thinking beings who had never threatened humanity, had never even known humanity existed. And behind it all, the creature's endless hunger, growing stronger with each eaten fleet, each absorbed technology, each devoured world. "It does not see any difference between the hegemony and their subjects," Hannah whispered. "To our creation, all matter is just potential fuel. All life is just complex arrangements of atoms waiting to be reorganized." The creature pulsed in the pool, and Tae-young felt its alien love for humanity, a warm, overwhelming feeling that was both comforting and terrifying. They were special to it, treasured, protected, but they were also the only exception it would ever make. "We created it to save us," Hannah continued, tears streaming down her face. "And it will. It will preserve humanity until the universe dies. But everything else, ... She pointed toward the stars visible through the chamber's window. "Everything else will feed its growth." Through the mind link, Tae-young felt the creature's preparations beginning. Vast constructs were taking shape in the spaces between dimensions. Weapons that could crack galaxies. Engines that could move faster than light itself. Soon, it would begin its journey to the galactic core, and nothing in the universe would ever be the same. "What have we become?" he asked. The creature's response came not in words, but in pure thought. Survivors. Around them, the space station hummed with the quiet activities of the last humans. Children played in artificial gardens under fake skies. Scientists worked in laboratories filled with knowledge stolen from 1,000 eaten civilizations. Artists created beautiful works, using technologies that would have seemed like magic to their grandparents. They lived like gods now, immortal and powerful, cared for by something that loved them in its own impossible way. But Tae-young could never forget what their survival had cost. Through the chamber's windows, he could see distant galaxies, countless points of light, representing trillions of lives that would soon feed the creature's endless expansion. Civilizations that built art from frozen music, beings made of pure energy that danced between stars. Machine intelligences that had found perfect harmony with their organic creators. All of them would die, because humanity had refused to die first. The creature pulsed once more in the communication pool, sharing its simple truths through their connected minds. It had been born from humanity's desperate need to survive, and survival was all it understood. It protected its makers, because they had created it, and it consumed everything else because that was its nature. In the distance, preparations continued for the next expansion. Humanity had won their war for survival, but the price was becoming the very thing they had once feared. Dr. Kim Hannah was 93 years old when the creature finished eating the entire Milky Way galaxy. She had spent the last 43 years watching the universe burn. She stood in her private room inside the Nexus, the impossible building at the center of the creature's territory. Through her window, she watched the final stages of galactic digestion. What had once been hundreds of billions of stars was now one giant living thing that stretched 50,000 light-years across and existed in dimensions that human math could barely understand. Through the mind connection that linked every surviving human to their creation, she felt its happiness at finishing its job. Every hegemony world had been eaten, every war fleet absorbed. Every trace of the empire that had tried to kill humanity was gone, but it had not stopped there. It had never been able to stop. The Andromeda galaxy hung in the distance, still clean, still natural, still home to billions of civilizations that had no idea what was coming for them. The creature's attention was already turning that way, its hunger never satisfied, always growing. Dr. Kim. The voice belonged to Commander Park Yuna, one of the younger people, humans born after the creature's birth, shaped by a universe where their species lived only because something beyond understanding allowed it. The creature wants to talk. It wants to show you something. Hannah nodded and walked to the central communication room. Her old body was supported by technologies the creature had made just to keep humans comfortable. Around her, the Nexus buzzed with activity. Gardens, where human children played under fake skies. Libraries containing the collected knowledge of 1,000 eaten civilizations. Workshops where humans worked with the creature to build wonders that would have seemed like magic to their grandparents. They lived like gods now, immortal and powerful, cared for by something that loved them in its own impossible way. But Hannah could never forget what their survival had cost. In the talking chamber, the communication pool showed her visions of distant galaxies, countless points of light, representing trillions of lives that would soon feed the creature's endless expansion. She saw civilizations that built art from frozen music, beings made of pure energy that danced between stars, machine minds that had found perfect peace with their organic creators. All of them would die, because humanity had refused to die first. "I know what you are thinking," said a familiar voice behind her. She turned to see Dr. Lee Min-ho, kept like all the original survivors, in the prime of his life, by the creature's technology. "The guilt never goes away, does it? Should it?" Hannah asked. "We chose to save our species by creating something that would doom every other species in the universe. We became the very thing the hegemony was, conquerors, destroyers, the ending of worlds." The creature pulsed in the communication pool, and suddenly the chamber filled with its presence. Through the mind link, it shared its view, not one of evil or hate, but of pure, innocent hunger. It had been born from humanity's desperate desire to survive, and survival was all it understood. It protected its creators because they had made it, and it consumed everything else because that was its nature, in its alien mind. There was no idea of right and wrong as humans understood it. There was only appetite and love, hunger and protection, growth and preservation. It loved humanity with the devotion of a child, and it would continue loving them as it devoured the universe. "The next generation does not remember Earth," Min said quietly. "To them, this is normal. They have never known a universe where we were not the top predators, where entire civilizations did not exist just to feed our creation's growth." Hannah touched the communication pool, feeling the creature's vast contentment wash over her. It was happy. Its creators were safe, its hunger was satisfied, and infinite galaxies stretched before it like a feast that would last until the end of time. Through the windows of the Nexus, she could see the creature's latest constructs taking shape, vessels that existed in 17 dimensions at once, engines that could move between galaxy clusters in hours, sensors that could detect life-bearing worlds from billions of light-years away. Soon, they would begin the journey to Andromeda, then to the local group, then to the Virgo supercluster, then beyond. The creature would grow and consume and expand until it had devoured everything that existed, and humanity would survive to witness the heat death of an empty universe. "We won," she whispered, the words tasting like ashes in her mouth. The creature pulsed once more, and in that pulse, she felt its simple, absolute truth. We survived. Behind them, preparations for the next expansion continued. Ahead of them, distant galaxies waited unknowingly for their doom, and at the center of it all, humanity persisted, the species that had looked extinction in the face and chosen to become extinction itself, rather than accept defeat. Around her, human children laughed in their perfect gardens, never knowing that their playground was built from the bones of dead worlds. Scientists worked in laboratories filled with stolen knowledge from civilizations that no longer existed. Artists created beauty using tools forged from the dreams of extinct races. They were the last survivors, the final winners, the species that had refused to lose. But in winning, they had become something that would have horrified their ancestors, shepherds of the apocalypse, parents of the thing that devours worlds. In the end, perhaps that was what it truly meant to be human, to survive at any cost, even if that cost was everything else that lived.